Today we're presenting on deforestation through the lens of four different ethical perspectives. I'm Grace Meacham, and with me is Ryan Hamilton, Michael Nork, and Brianna Akers. In an era of progress and growth, few have stopped to reflect on how we've gotten here. From the beginning of the colonists arriving on American soil, there has been an enemy in plain sight. The wilderness and the unknown that it possessed were dangerous, and an adversary to be fought. As a country, we pushed people off the land, burned down forests, destroyed ecosystems, and kept pushing onwards to the west coast. We only looked at the land as something to be conquered. Only when that was complete did we turn around.
We cannot change the past, but we can begin a journey of cultural and ecological reconciliation. By reshaping the ethical framework through which we interact with our environment, we can identify a course of action to catalyze positive change. To approach this, we'll examine deforestation from four perspectives: contemporary Native American thought, land ethic, animal rights, and biocentrism. As you can see on the slide here, the stakes are incredibly high when it comes to deforestation at a global scale.
Looking through a lens that respects nature and believes that nature gives us gifts, we should stop logging at the rate we are. Native Americans have lived thousands of years on the same land and appreciated and accepted what the earth gave as a gift. If we shifted our thinking and were more appreciative in many aspects, we would see that there are many products on the market that are more sustainable and better for the environment, like bamboo, or reusable products like cloths instead of paper towels. It might mean changing our ways and our consumption patterns, but I think it would be worth it. There are many tribes that have practiced sustainable practices for thousands of years, and they believed in two ethical principles, which are justice and sustainability. They believe that the land provides for them and they're supposed to take care of it as well as it takes care of them. And they believed in justice for each and every one of the animals, and they gave thanks to the earth. And there are many issues that come from the lack of trees: air pollution, lower quality of drinking water, aesthetic issues, and the list goes on. We're killing off different animal species at an alarming rate and not accepting the gifts that nature so freely provided us. How we change our ways now will impact future generations.
Thanks, Grace. Aldo Leopold's proposed land ethic urges us to extend ethical standing and moral consideration to all living and non-living components of the environment. The land in land ethic refers to not only the soil or a geographic location, but to the ecological community itself. Land ethic is normative in that it speaks heavily to what we should do in a moral sense, but also calls upon everyone to transform their character and perspective into that of a citizen of the environment who acts with respect toward their fellow citizens, whether they're deer, trees, sand, or water. As citizens of the land, humans have no less right to thrive than any other citizen, but we cannot claim greater rights than our fellow citizens either. Therefore, within this framework, it is neither unethical nor is it immoral to feed, house, and clothe ourselves using our fellow non-human citizens, but it is our responsibility to do so in ways that are not exploitive. Guided by Leopold's maxim, a thing is right when it tends to preserve the integrity, stability, and beauty of the biotic community. It is wrong when it tends otherwise. Adoption of a land ethic is an inevitable part of our evolution as living beings that came from and will eventually return to the land.
Thank you. Animal rights was a perspective that was led by both Jeremy Bentham and Singer, and there were a quote from Bentham was that he said that the question is not can they reason nor can they talk, but can they suffer? So in this, he's saying that if the animal can suffer from an action that humans are causing, then it is an unethical thing to pursue. And which leads to the next point that says animals have as much right to the land as humans. So even though animals cannot protect forests and other areas the same way that humans can, they still have the right to live off that land. And as humans, we have a right to help them protect their living environments that they find their food, shelter, and everything else in. And then the animal also has interests if it can experience suffering and enjoyment. Animals enjoy living off of the land. And then when their land is cut away by deforestation, then they will no longer have this enjoyment and they will start to suffer. And then you will see consequences building off of our actions. And then another point from animal rights is that humans and animals both have an equal amount of intrinsic value. So intrinsic value is basically the value that each living thing conveys to the environment. And so they each have equal rights because animals are living, and like if you go down the food chain, it works that way. So you'll have the animals in the land in the food chain, and if one part of that food chain is missing, then it's going to cause an effect in the food chain down the line, and it's going to run back to humans eventually. And so the last point is that deforestation has caused negative effects. The biggest negative effect is it starts with extinction, which has been caused by the animals losing the environment that they have been in. So they're forced to find a new environment to live in. And when animals move from environment to environment, it's going to cause more competition between each animal, and there's going to be less resources for each animal, and that will cause them to go extinct in the future. And that can affect humans down the line as well.
All right, lastly, we focus on biocentrism. The biocentric viewpoint is nature-based and not human-based, meaning that nature does not exist for the consumption of humans. Any actions that negatively affect our ecosystem affects us humans as well. One of the main pillars of the biocentric outlook claims that human beings are not inherently superior to other living things. Biocentrism promotes non-maleficence, meaning that we should inflict the least harm possible to reach a beneficial outcome. When forests are cleared, not only are we destroying the lives of plants and trees, but the animals who call the forest home. Animals are displaced and are often unaware of where to go next. It is so important to uphold as much purity in nature as we can and to limit practices contributing to deforestation and find alternatives to preserve as much nature as possible. More information about the biocentric viewpoint can be found in our final paper. All right, so now that we have assessed and analyzed, what will our future look like if we continue at this rate? Kind of like the picture seen at the top right, the forests are the lungs of our planet. The trees take in carbon dioxide and release oxygen and water into the air. Trees also provide a substantial amount of shade, which keeps soil moist. We are facing conditions leading to climate change as we create these imbalances in our environment. We are also facing future problems of global warming since the trees are utilizing our greenhouse gases that we're creating that restore the balance in our atmosphere. With our constant practices contributing to deforestation, the ratio of greenhouse gases in our environment have and will continue to increase.
Fine. Oh. Do you want me to read the last one?
Yeah.
Okay. Finally, for protecting the forested areas, it will help in all four perspectives, both all Native American, land ethic, biocentrism, and animal rights, because it's going to allow for a more preserved area of the nature that all these viewpoints are looking for. And protecting the forest will help the animals by keeping their environment intact. It will help land ethic because nature is seen as has an intrinsic value as well. Native Americans, their goal was to keep the land intact as well. And then finally for biocentrism, it says that the earth is all, nature is also has an intrinsic value as well. So protecting forest areas can help protect the earth.
All right. Thank you everyone for watching our presentation. It's been a pleasure to be in this class and it's been a lot of fun. We are recording this on Earth Day, so happy Earth Day, everyone.